Well, praise the Lord. Feels like I've seen you before. You were mine and I were yours. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. Hey, doctor, how you doing? I find it hard to breathe. I just can't believe you're feeling me like I'm feeling you. I gotta pinch myself. No one has gave me such a thrill the way that you do. I just got to let you know, in case you didn't know, I think you're wonderful. Hey, welcome. That's this thing you do to me. It makes keep me real. I think you're wonderful. Hello, number Nicole 7. Thanks for joining today. Hey, how are we doing? Welcome. I don't want to fool myself, but I'm falling in love. You giving me that old school love, telling me I'm the only one, showing me that is how you really feel. You make it hard for me to breathe. Welcome. Invite. I have to pinch myself. Hey, Card, I ain't seen you in a while. How you been doing up there in the zoo? Come on, I'm gonna quit. I just gotta tell you, I gotta let you know how I really feel. Thank you, wonderful. Does this thing you do to me? It makes me weak. I think you're wonderful. Hit that note. It will be okay as long as you are near. You take away my pain. I'm addicted to you, baby. You got my heart, baby. I just gotta let you know, in case you didn't know, I think you're wonderful. It's all right to be in love. Loving you is so easy. I think you're wonderful. Well, welcome to Rejoice Ministries, relationship tips with Bishop Rejoice. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. You have time to invite a friend, text somebody, tag somebody, hit your group, and let them know that man is on talking about relationship. Tell your baby, nudge and say, baby, come on, baby. We're going to find something we're going to laugh about. We're going to find something we agree with. We're going to find something we can disagree a bit. But we definitely going to find something that we can talk about. Like the girl did the song, said, let's give them something to talk about. A little mystery to figure out. Come on. Go ahead and invite someone, tag a person, wake up somebody you know need to hear this message, somebody that you know that will be blessed by it. It's always blessed. Let me guarantee you something. Every time I come on the radio or TV or Facebook, I guarantee you I'm going to say something that's going to bless you. Hey, Victor, how you doing tonight? I guarantee you that I'm going to say something that's going to bless you, and I'm going to guarantee you that I'm going to say something that's going to last eternally. Why? Because I'm always going to quote the word. And the word lasts for eternally, and the word is always blessing, even when you don't understand it. So that's why I can make bold statements and say, whenever I come on the line, I'm not going to quit until I say something about Jesus. I'm not going to quit until I at least give the word of the Lord, give a word, and I'm talking about the logos, something that can stand the test of times, all right? So, again, welcome. Thank you for each and every one of you for joining in us tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about relationship tips, and that is how asking the hard question. Let me tell you something. In a relationship, we have this concept called, not relationship, but in psychology, they have this concept called the yanking process, okay? The yanking process is when you pull out information. Hello there, Stacy. How we doing today? Appreciate you, Elder Stacy. Let's see here. I see my friend Joel out there. Joel Brooks, good to see you, man. Hey, man, happy to have each and every one of y'all. This thing acts different for me every week, so sometimes I can read people conversations. Next week I can't. So bear with me. If I missed saying your name, is only because I don't know what I'm doing on this thing. But yeah, back when we were in counseling, they have this concept called the yanking process. And the yanking process pulls out information, okay? It's questions designed to yank out information so that we can talk about them, all right? And so one of the things that we want to do in terms of our relationship, I want to share some questions with you tonight that will yank out information with your partner, your significant other, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, so that you can get to know each other. One of the reasons that you're able to celebrate your mate is that you begin to know them. There began to be a measure of transparency. And so sometimes you have to, in order to get the information, depending on the personality type, we know there's certain personality types of volunteer information, but then there's other personality types that hide information, all right? They see information as knowledge and power, or they see information as what are you going to do with this information if I share it? So they hold it back, okay? And so the only way you're going to get that information is by about asking or the right questions. If you ask the right questions, the information come out. It's like a combination. Y'all remember we used to go to ninth grade, and when you went to the ninth grade, you got a combination lock. Boy, I was so happy when I got my combination lock because I could flick it, and I hit the right numbers in there, and it would come out, open up every time. Well, the same way with relationship. If you ask the right questions, you will get answers, and which will cause the individual that you are dating or getting to know to share information that can be beneficial in terms of growing. Now, this information is not used in a negative way. It's used to build you up. Paul says, I use my gifting for the edification or for edifying and not for destruction. And so when you're in a relationship with someone, you're gathering information. The purpose of the information is that I may best minister to you, that we may live peaceably together, that we may build, okay? And so you're asking these questions. Now, if it's in a dating situation and you begin to ask certain questions, their answer will determine whether or not there's any need for us to continue on in the dating relationship. If I find information that's a deal breaker, then there's no need of us progressing any longer. I know that you and I can't go beyond the point that we're at, okay? And so the sooner that we find out certain information, the better. Okay. And so in the yanking process, we're going to yank out information. And once I find out the information, then I will deal with it based on the information I have. Okay? Now, that's why the Bible tells us in 1 Peter 3:7, he says, I'm to deal with my mate according to knowledge. So I've got to gather information. If I have not entered into a covenant with this relationship, then I gather this information and I make decisions based on that information I now have. Okay? And so, but in a marriage, I'm in a covenant with you. So I find out certain things. I don't care how bad it is. I am committed to sticking through with you. So we now begin to work through this whole process. Okay? All right. Okay. Now, as always, eat the meat, spit out the bones. I do the best I can what I'm working with. Okay? And so I give you 26 years of marriage. I raised 5 kids. I've been pastoring since 1982. I've had a chance to go to all kind of people in terms of wealth. I've counseled all kind, a whole lot of money, no money, a whole lot of education, no education, a whole lot of experience, no experience. And there's a commonality with all individuals. Hello, Hazel. Thanks for joining us. And everybody, whether they're a man or woman, boy or girl, educated, uneducated, they all face trouble. The Bible says this about us. Man that is born of a woman is a few days and they're full of trouble. Okay, so it doesn't matter who you get with, sooner or later there's going to be trials. Now, as always, hey Aisha, thanks for joining us. As always, you can always go to my website and leave questions, or you can type up questions on the screen. And if it's in harmony with my message for the night, I'll answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I'll say I don't know. I'll get back with you, and I'll follow up with you offline, and I will type up some of the information I can for you if I don't have it presently with me. And as always, you can go to my website at lifecenterchurchmichigan.com, and you can leave a share. I mean, you can leave a comment. You can leave a donation. You can leave a invite on that. Okay. I want you to go ahead right now. Go ahead and share an invite. Go ahead and share an invite as we get started. Tonight's questions. These are certain questions in a relationship. Sooner or later, you have to get around to asking these questions. And I tell people when it comes to finances, the sooner the better. The sooner you ask him about his money, the better. As we find out later on, when the longer you're in a relationship, if you have not asked him about his money, he will not tell you things that you have not established early on. So you want to find out whether or not he has the financial ability to continue in the lifestyle that you're used to having. And so there are a lot of questions that you want to ask. Are you preparing for retirement? You know, things like that, so that as you age, you are prepared for it. But let's give you some couple of questions. All right, let's just jump start on that. One of the questions you want to ask is, do you feel, and again, depending on what time or how long you've been together, do we feel more emotionally connected than we did early in our relationship? Do we feel more emotionally connected now than we did earlier on in our relationship? In other words, are we growing emotionally? All right. When you're in a relationship, there's a physical growth, spiritual growth, emotional growth, social growth. There's all these types of growth that's going on. And so I'm tuning in right now to the emotional. Are we more emotionally attached right now? You should be. That's right. You should be growing. You should be increasing in these areas. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, one of the posts that I put out was, if you are in a relationship, the person should be making you better and not bitter, okay? If you find yourself bitter and not better, it's some issues that we need to address, okay? There are some issues need to be addressed. If I find myself angry, if I find myself bitter about life, then there are some adjustments that we need to be made. So if I'm connected with you, then I should be getting better emotionally. We should be connecting more emotionally. Now, if we're not connecting more emotionally, then we need to evaluate why we're not connecting more emotionally. Is it because of, maybe our job at this season? Sometimes when you begin to have kids and you're trying to get two careers at the same time going, then sometimes you don't have enough time there. The first adjustment is self. I don't quite understand it, Aish. You got to come back and tell me what you mean by that. So you have to make that deposit. You have to make that adjustment. I ask myself, am I more emotionally connected? Are we more emotionally connected? Are we increasing or are we decreasing? One of the things that a scale will tell you, a weight scale, if you get on it, it will tell you whether or not you're gaining weight or losing weight, okay? And so you should have some methodology of determining whether or not you are becoming more emotionally connected or not, okay? Also, since we're on that, are we growing together spiritually? Are we growing together physically? Do we physically like each other's company? All right, and we'll jump into that a little bit more in a moment. Hey, Laura, how you doing? Listen, here's a question that you can ask. That's a non-threatening question. What makes you feel loved most? What makes you feel loved most? If I don't know what makes me feel loved, then then it's going to be hard for you to discover what makes me feel loved, okay? And so it's important for me to say, to know how I feel loved. How do I receive love? What do you do to make me feel loved? when you understand those things, it helps you, okay? Security, attention, all those things are absolutely right. Hello, Dr. Martin. Thanks for joining us. You're absolutely right. I need to know what makes me feel loved. Because if I don't know, then someone else can manipulate me, okay? But when I know what makes me feel love, then I understand when I'm receiving it, and also I can train individuals, train if somebody get offended with that. I can instruct them on how to please me. Okay, if I'm feeling some kind of way, I have to first evaluate myself to see where I am mentally and spiritually. Am I communicating properly? So I just feel before I put out bad vibes, I need to make sure I'm in order. Absolutely. I think that always, Aisha, if you're it all starts with myself. I have to start with me. All right, I got to look at me. Michael Jackson said it starts with the man in the mirror. So there's no way for anyone to properly minister or me to grow together with someone if I have all this baggage. That's why learning to be single sometimes is the best thing for me before I add someone else into this equation. So if I'm unhealthy, then I don't need to bring anybody else in my unhealthy, toxic environment. So starting out with myself is absolutely crucial for me to be healthy and whole and ready to pursue a relationship, to develop a relationship with someone else. Okay, here's a good question for you. How does love look to you? What does love look like? You know, what does it look like? If someone has to describe you, love to you, what does it look like in our relationship? How does it manifest itself on a day-to-day basis in my home, on my job, you know? And then we're talking about the different types of love. Of course, we can talk about the agape love of God. We can talk about the eros love, or we can talk about the family love, the sturgy love, all those areas. Roxanne says action. So yes, how does the love look? And so when we understand how it looks, we can recognize when we see it. So you need to have a vision. The Bible says without a vision, the people perish. So if I have a vision of what love looked like, I can recognize it when I'm giving it out, or when I'm receiving it, or when it's in action, whether in my environment or outside of my environment. A lot of people can recognize negativity or devilish or witchcraft because they are always focusing on those things, okay? And so when I recognize love, what love looks like, then I can see it in anywhere. Sometimes it looks like a big smile when I first see their face or hear their voice. Booyah, like a kid, you know. Sometimes you see the person, that smile just automatically comes out, even when they're not intending to. I think my good friend who's gone on to be with the Lord, Isaac Hayes, calls it the look of love. Hello, Pastor Robert. How you doing? Good to see you today. Okay, so when we start talking about love, what does love look like in your household? What does love look like when you are when between your husband and your wife? What does love look like between brothers and sisters? What does the love look like between male and male and female, between female and female? So all these kind of different visions of what love look like in your communication with your significant other helps you understand each other on a more intimate level. Here's a question that's it could be one of those hard questions. How, if you've been married, here's a good one. If you've been married for a while, how does it compare to what we thought was love when we first married? If you've been married for a while, or if you've been in a relationship a while, compare what you thought love was before you got to this place and how it looks now. Love is not always pretty, but it's safe. It's strong and passionate and non-judgmental. It is dependable. It is transparent. It is passionate. Okay? All right. Okay, so when we start talking about what does it look like in your own life, Okay, those are good dictionary meanings, but what it look like in your life, okay, is what we're trying to do, and what you're trying to do it in a tangible way. Okay, a lot of times we say some stuff, and it's really theoretical. Okay, it's theological. Okay, but what we're trying to do is we want to pinpoint it. So what love look like? Love look like for me. Here it is. I'm sick and I don't want to. I know I got to get up and take the kid to school tomorrow, and my significant other takes the kids. You know, well I'll be like, oh man, she really love me. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about theoretically. We're not talking about going in Google and Google up love. I'm talking about how does it look in your own life, okay? How does it manifest itself, okay? So that way it's realistic. It's practical. You know, my whole thought process is always make stuff practical. Hello, Paulette. Thanks for joining us today. Now, here we go. Well, here's one of the hard questions you can ask yourself. Are we in agreement about having children? This is for my younger couple. Are we in agreement for having children? And if we are we in agreement about how to raise them and their education? Okay, so these are questions. These are hard questions that you have to ask. Okay, are we going to have private school? Are we going to homeschool? Are we going to go to public school? Okay, what's more important is education with the skill or education without a skill? So all these things have to be talked about, and these are hard questions. And that's why it's so important that you should have Planned Parenthood. I know I said that word, Planned Parenthood. When we have a baby before we're ready, it takes away a lot of that. Or we have a baby before we're married, or we have a baby with Pookie that I didn't even know Pookie ain't gonna even be around. It's kind of all these questions that should have been answered before we got this baby are now thrust. And now, in some of the cases, whoever keeps the child, in the case of us separating, has to answer all these questions. Okay, so it's important to ask these questions in advance. And I tell ladies again, and let me put out this disclaimer. I know I talk to my audience is both people who are in church and people who are not in church. Okay, so there are people who are going to do things biblically, and they're going to do things non-biblically out there. So when I say some things, it's to both audiences. If it's not to you, then just throw away the question, all right? And so what I say to those individuals who have a baby out of wedlock before they have talked through all this process, you are stuck here asking these questions yourself. So if you're going to sleep with a guy, you got to ask yourself this question: is this guy somebody I would want a baby with? Because the possibility is there. Okay, so if he or she is not somebody you willing to have a baby with, then you need to zip it. Okay, all right, that's just free. That was just free right there. So now, when we start, since we're on finances, how much is each of us contributing to our financial health? Okay, in terms of dollars, in terms of otherwise. One of the things that happens sometimes is when to my millennials, if you mess around and start dating a guy or girl and she gets pregnant, well, what happens to your future? What happens to your plans? What happens to your goals? And your financial well-being now has hit a snare, okay? Not that we can't recover, but it's a setback. So these kind of things need to be talked about. So when it comes to our financial health, is each person's contributions acceptable to the others? Okay, so sometimes we know one of my concepts I love to talk about is proportionate giving. You know, a person who's making this kind of money should give more than the person who's making a little money. Okay, so you give in proportion. All right, and so those are the kind of things we need to talk about in this relationship as we begin to build. We are going somewhere. So these are some hard questions that has to be asked. Don't be intimidated. Don't be fearful to ask these kind of hard questions. Okay, when it comes to kids. All right. Have you explained to them about sex? All right. Who's going to talk about sex? Who's going to talk about death? Who's going to talk about God? Okay. And so are we comfortable with how we've dealt with these subjects ourselves? Okay. And so all these things have to be communicated. All these things we have to talk about. That's why you cannot get caught up in entertainment with football or going to the club and TV shows and not get a chance to talk. Okay, so you have to ask all of these tough questions so that you can build. Remember now, when you're building a relationship, you've got to dig down. When you're digging down, you're laying a solid foundation. And if you lay a solid foundation, you can build and go in anywhere. But if your foundation is not solid, then the first storm comes, it will destroy you. Okay? So these questions are geared or designed to make a solid relationship. It's for you to go Selah. The word Selah means divine delay. Stop and think about it. Okay? So you're stopping and thinking about, where are we going? What are we trying to build? How does we get to this philosophy? Because you're ultimately squishing together your experiences, his experiences, your thought process, his thought process, and the two are becoming one. There's a merging that's going there. And in order for this merging to come out, you're going to come out with a philosophy for the family. Okay? And so in order for us to come out with a philosophy that has what we call consensus thinking, that is both of us buy in and this is our philosophy, then you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it. One of my favorite concepts all my life, anybody know me a long time know that I believe in advanced decision making. In other words, making decisions in advance before it happens. Okay? Okay. All right. Now, here we go. If you were going on a desert island, what three things or what three people do you take? If you were on a desert island, what three things or what three people that you would take? That's just some questions. There's no right or wrong. All of this is designed to make you think. All right. It's like the poster I put on the other day, and I simply said, do you really love him? Do you really love her? Well, immediately, whoever you really love comes to your mind. It's a psychological question. It's designed to make you think. You don't have to say who it is that you love, but if I say to you, you really love him, don't you? Well, whoever he or she is will come to your mind. Yeah, yes, advanced decision making. What happens is, like let's just say in football, we have this concept with football is the 2-minute drill. So the last 2 minutes of the game, you see a team that have never played good the whole game, it's been terrible. The last 2 minutes, they go down and score, okay? Why? Because they've been practicing all year for the last 2 minutes. Well, they've the thought in advance, this is what we're going to do, all right? This is what you should be doing for your own house. If there is a fire and you got young kids, you should already have an escape plan. Okay. If there is a tornado, it hits, you should have, okay, this is what we're going to do automatically. Okay. So there are certain things that when an emergency hit, you don't have to think about it. You already know what you're going to do because you've already thought about it before it happened. Okay. It's like this. Boy, let me give you a nugget. You talk about a nugget. Here comes a nugget. Christians, while you are in a relationship with your mate and the relationship is going good, you decide then what you're going to do in case you have a bad time. So while you're going good, you decide, okay, if we get a divorce, this is how we're going to split up everything. Because at that point, both of you are sensitive. There's no pain. There's no anger. There's no bitterness there. Okay? And so you think about it then, you'll be the right thing. If you wait until you've been wounded, busted, gut and disgusted, angry, cheated on, betrayed, or whatever, then you're going to do totally different than what you would do right now. Okay, all right. Here's another one. Let's do a couple more before we start. Here's another one. Let's see here. How have we learned to cope with normal day-to-day irritations of married life? Okay. How have you learned to deal with the day-to-day irritations of a married life? Okay. how could we handle them even better? In other words, if you are married right now, he leaves little whiskers in the sink, or she leaves hair in the tub. That's if you only have one sink and one tub. How do you deal with those kinds of things? Unfortunately, sometimes they don't keep their word. I mean, the whole concept of marriage, the whole idea of marriage, unfortunately, that in a divorce means that somebody didn't keep their word. So, that's why you try to make things legal. You make them legal so that in the event that they don't keep their word, you have a system will force them to do what they said they were going to do. Okay, you have a system of law. You sign. This is why we have this thing called prenups. As an NBA player. As an NBA chaplain for 2.5 decades, the prenup was something that they did, and that most of my guys that did it never had to use it because they stayed with their mates anyway. But for the ones who jumped ship, that the prenup helped them out. Yes, absolutely. Get an attorney. You need an attorney in advance so that it'll help you do the right thing. Sometimes people will not do the right thing without pressure from an outside source. So an attorney, legal documents, just like your marriage is a legal document. You also need to have legal documents to force people to do things that some of them would not normally do. That's why we have such things as the friend of the court. Or we have a child support. We have alimony. All of these things is our legal system making people do stuff that they should have done in the first place. But since they're not going to do it, they are forced to do the right thing. Okay, y'all got some good comments going out there. Y'all getting me fired up. Okay, here we go. Here's a good one. Here's another. Let me find another good one here that's not too tough. But yeah, when it comes to life irritants, learning how to deal with someone who sucks their teeth, yeah, those are irritants, or someone who goes, she gonna be late and tie up the bathroom. So how do you negotiate through that? He is going to be late for dinner. How do you negotiate through all of that? Those are little irritants. She ain't going to put no gas in the car. He's not going to pay bills on time. So all these are little irritants that can grow if you don't have a strategy on how to deal with the flaws of one another. Okay? And so he's not going to keep up with his word. He's not going to follow through. All those are things that we sometimes are day-to-day challenges of relationships that erodes at the emotional deposits that we made. So we have to talk about how I'm going to make it. This is not enough to get a divorce. I can't tell you how many people I've sat down with and they're on the verge of divorces and that's not enough to get a divorce up. It's not enough. Okay, what you mad about? Well, I'm mad because he don't never take the garbage out. You going to get a divorce over garbage. Well, if you get a divorce, baby, you got to take the garbage out yourself. How did we even get to marriage if I know it before? Well, some of the things are, Pam, in a relationship, you know before, but you're willing, because that's the nature of women, to he's going to change once he gets to you. Women are such nurturers that they think all he needs is a good man, is a good woman, and he will not do certain things, okay? And so you don't even get, you saw that's not a changer. Or you have been without a man so long, not you per se, you said, listen, hey, I'll take him any kind of way. I ain't had no man. A half a pair of pants is better than no pair of pants. Come on, Pam, quit playing. Quit playing. I'm just joking. If everything irritates you, then you're headed in the wrong direction. Absolutely. You've got to understand that when you really love somebody, it doesn't, everything don't bother you. Love covers. You know, you think about your little bad kids, when they used to poop all on you and all that, they stuffed and stank worse than everybody else. Why? Because they were your kids and you loved them and it was just part of the process, you know. And when they were sick and couldn't use the bathroom, you gave them some castor oil to make sure that they did, okay? So when you love, it covers certain stuff. So when your love is high, you don't see as much. When your love is low, you see a whole lot, okay? That's what we were talking about earlier about emotional deposits. When my love is high, when my love is high toward an individual, don't nothing bother me. When the love level is low, everything bothers me. Okay, think about it. When you and your boyfriend, you and your husband, when you had something special going on, it didn't nothing bother you. He late, that's okay. He'll be here in a minute. Why? Because your love level was high. I'm so happy to have him. So certain things he got away with. When your love level's low, the same thing now bothers you. You ready to leave? You want, So it's very, very important that we understand that. Okay, all right. Okay, I beat that horse. I beat that horse a long time. Here's one here. Here's a question. To ask your mate, have you ever been brokenhearted? Have your heart ever been broken? Like Marvin Gaye says, I've been hurt by love so many times till I know just what you're going through. Have you ever been brokenhearted? Okay, and so those kinds of questions we have to talk about and talk through during our process. It helps me get to know an individual and how to respond to pain, okay? And also it tells them so they get a chance to connect with me on a broken level. Because a lot of men act like, oh man, no, she can't hurt me. No, can't nobody. No, I ain't never been hurt by no love. No. All of those are masks. That's our public person that we're putting there because I want you to see me a certain way. I don't want you to think of me as ever being vulnerable. So I'm going to act like I ain't never been hurt. Oh, no, it don't bother me. And let me just say as a pastor, the question, have you anybody, you right front, have anybody ever left your church and you were hurt by it? Raise your hand if you so. Yeah. Yeah, when people leave and hurt your church, there's a hurt. There's a brokenhearted that happens there. You don't want them to leave everybody. You don't want everybody to leave. The first person I remember ever left my church years ago, my heart was broken. I took rejection, abandonment. What did I do? I prayed for them, prophesied over them, loaned them money, gave them rides to church. But they still left. Well, if I loan you some more money? Oh, well, what if you give me my money back? Wait a minute, give me my money back. Maybe if you don't feel better, I sure feel better. Well, see, brokenheartedness, okay? So when we start talking about women who've had their hearts broken or men that have been brokenhearted, the next question is, well, how did that make you feel? How did you recover from it? Are you over it? Because if we're not over some of those injuries, then they will affect our current situation. Okay, if I'm not totally healed from that brokenheartedness, then it can affect the giving or the transparency or the openness in my current situation. Okay, I'm currently afraid to give you my love because I remember the last time when I was with Sally, I started loving Sally, and next thing I know, Sally was gone. Ain't no use in going home. Sally done left and gone. So it hinders me from being as open and receptive to the love of someone else. So I have to talk through this brokenheartedness because the truth of the matter of it, anybody who have ever experienced hurt don't want to be hurt like that again. Whether it's a loss of a loved one, whether it's a divorce, whether it's all those things, boy, they really hurt our heart, and you don't want to feel that pain no more. So you do whatever you can to keep from feeling that pain. Well, if you've not been healed by it, here comes someone, God sends someone, or you see somebody that is good for you, that can take you to the next level, but the pain there will cause you to shoot yourself in the foot to drive away the blessing that God has sent to you. Woo! Good God Almighty. If I had the mic, if I had somebody on the keyboard, I'd go dun 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 dun. No. So what happens is you have to become emotionally healed. You have to become spiritually healed of the brokenhearted. And you have to talk about these kinds of things, okay? So that the two of you can be prepared and can minister to one another, and you can be sensitive about those kinds of things. Okay, all right, here we go. Here's a couple of questions that you can ask yourself with your relationship. Here's a good one. Here we come. Would you rather be rich or famous? Huh? Would you prefer to be rich or famous? Which of the two? All those things, again, give insight into the relationships between the two of you. Can you handle being famous? Can you handle being rich or wealthy? I know the Pentecostal people out there talking about in their wealthy place. Can you handle it? Okay. Sometimes rich, wealthy. Well, those that are saying wealthy understand the Bible says money answers all things. Okay. So those kinds of questions we need to talk to our mate. Because one of the things that happens with famous, I've gone out with famous people, and one of the things about famous people is that I've gone to places where we had to rent the whole the whole restaurant in order for us to be there, and the celebrity without the celebrity being interrupted. Okay. Or they would have to rent a whole store in order to shop to keep other individuals from harassing them, so their life could have some semblance of normalcy. Okay, and so when you start talking about these ideas of famous, the more famous you become, sometimes you lose your life, in the sense that every preacher, every pastor knows what it's like to be in the fishbowl. The fish, we call that the fishbowl syndrome. In other words, when a fish swims around, you see everything that the fish does. Well, when you become famous, those things happen. I remember one time I spoke at this very large, my first and probably my largest gathering. And after I finished speaking, that next day I wanted to go run on the beach. Well, I couldn't run. Every 3 steps, the people from the conference would stop and talk to me. So all my freedom was gone. It was gone during that entire week as a result of the exposure that I got at that particular time. So to me, I resisted sometimes becoming famous, quote, because of that. Now I'm more mature, I can handle it. But back then, I didn't want it. There were times that opportunity would present itself for me to be on a bigger platform, and I would find a way not to go, because I didn't want to be on that. I wanted to keep control of my own life, okay? And so when you're asking these questions, it begins to pull back layers in the lives of individuals so you can understand their philosophy. Remember now, when the two become one, they have to have a philosophy of their family. And the only way that you're going to have a family philosophy is to talk about what you think about before those events actually occur. This is how we're going to respond, okay? And so this is all part of that whole process. Okay, well, that's about enough for tonight. Here's one last question that's not that tough. It is, what is something that you would really like to get better at? What is something that you would really like to get better at? That's what you ask your significant other. Again, all of this does is hold them accountable. All of it does is begin to get into their mind. It gets them out of themselves and on the table. See, a lot of times we think stuff that we don't share. It's like texting, or back in my day when we first started having telephones, people would say things in the telephone that they would not say face to face. Well, now people text stuff that they won't say. Okay. Well, there are things that you think in your head that you will not say. You just think them. Hello, Jenny. So what in a healthy relationship, I've got to yank out some of this stuff that you're thinking. I want to know your inner thoughts. When you're building a lifelong relationship, when you're building a lifelong friendship, well, I want to know your inward thoughts, because I want to know some of the things that you're thinking. Maybe I can help you at, because as a result of being in a relationship with me, you should be getting better. As a result of me being in a relationship with you, I should be getting better, because we are pulling the best out of each other. Iron is sharpening iron, so we are getting better. We're learning how to work through our conflicts. We're learning how to work through our disagreements. We're learning how to accept each other's gifts, their strengths, and their weaknesses in order to make us a better couple, in order to make us a better husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, better father, better son, better daughter, a better man of God, a woman of God. Well, that's enough for today. I really, as always enjoy being with you. I think that you are an amazing group of individuals. I think that I appreciate our time together. You know, one of the things about life is you never know how long this window is going to last, okay? You never know how long this relationship that we have back and forth is going to continue. I'm so happy for you to have a happy Friday. I'm so happy that we got a chance to talk. I want you to know I think that you are wonderful. You're absolutely a great individual. I look forward to working with you on a weekly basis. As always, eat the meat and spit out the bone. Father God, I bless my team tonight. I bless these men, these women of God that have come and been with me tonight. Lord, we're looking forward to our secret single meeting tomorrow. Lord, I bless them. Lord, let them be prepared and ready to receive and strengthen one another. Lord, I bless husband and wife, boyfriends and girlfriends. I bless sons and daughters. I bless Pastor Anita. I bless every individual that's online. I bless Hazel, Lord. I bless Stacy, Lord. I bless Pam. I bless Hayes. I bless Jenny, Lord, in Jesus' name. Lord, I bless Marilyn, Sherilyn. I bless Pam. I bless Nicole. I bless Carlton. I bless, that's about it. Father, bless Connie. Thank you in Jesus' name. Lord, I thank you for each individual. Thank you for Laura, Lord, in Jesus' mighty name. I thank you for Kenya. Bless them all. Let them have a great weekend, Lord. Supernatural visitation, Lord, tonight. They're wonderful. See you soon. God bless you. I think you're wonderful. Girl, you make me feel a certain way. Hey, Naomi. Give me that old school love. Saying I'm the only one, baby. Keep telling me that. I believe it. I believe it. I find it hard to believe. I can't believe that you fit in me like I feel you. There ain't nothing like being in love with somebody who loves you back. I think that boy Pendergrass said that. Hey, gal, you got to look rewind. You got to go to rewind. We done. Good night. In case you didn't know, thank you, wonderful. You do something, you make me keep it 100.